Well, thank you so much. It's absolutely terrific to be here. Usually on the second day and the last day of a conference, when you're the morning speaker, when you see a group like this, you know one of two things. Either those people that couldn't sleep so well last night and woke up early, or the very passionate people about the topic, and I prefer to think that this is a very passionate crowd about energy efficiency. It's thrilling for me when I come to these events, and I get to go to a fair number of them in my life right now, when I, in some ways, get to share some things I've learned over almost 36 years now, hard to believe, but at the same time I'm a student. I get to sit in the audience, and every single time I come away inspired with new learnings. And I think one thing that I see here, and to the Supreme Council, is so fantastic. For 36 years I have been working toward efficiency in buildings, and most energy conferences, a voice from above, most energy conferences focus on the creation of energy, and it is so delightful to see how far the sustainability movement has come, because at a conference normally focused on energy creation, we're also talking about energy conservation and sustainability. I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, and this will seem a little crazy till the end of my talk. This is a little paper doll that my granddaughter sent me. My granddaughter's name is Isabella, and the paper doll is named Flat Bella, obviously flat. She sent me a letter, and the letter said, "Dear Bob." I'm not used to having my granddaughter call me Dear Bob, but she said, "We had a project in school where we were studying a book that was called Flat Stanley, and people took Flat Stanley on their travels around the world and documented where they went. And so this past week I was in Brussels, and now I'm here in Dubai, and I'm documenting my travels for my granddaughter Bella with Flat Bella, and taking pictures of your wonderful city and your architecture, and I did in Brussels, and I'll be sending it to her next week." So you think that's a little crazy, but I'll show you at the end, maybe not so crazy. So I've entitled my talk today, "Writing the Green Wave," but first I always like to ask some questions. And I've asked this to about 10,000 people now. Is global warming a myth? Interesting. Okay, in 10,000 people, my count is now up to 8, because we added 5 this morning that said global warming is a myth. I'm not an earth scientist. Maybe the right question should be, is mankind helping contribute to climate change? And maybe the debate should not be about global warming. There are some things that we do know. It is getting warmer. We can measure that. We're living longer. We know that. There are more people in cities, and certainly we're doing more business around the world. The world's population in 1950 was 2.55 billion. Today, it's about 6.8 billion. By 2050, it will be approaching 9 billion. There are more of us. In 1950, the average lifespan around the world was 46.2 years. What do we know about some of the megatrends and how it impacts cities? 1% of the Earth's surface, 50% of the world's population, 75% of the world's energy, and 75% of the CO2 emissions. There are many cities around the world. Some are in moderate transition from development. There are many mega cities that I go to that are growing uncontrollably, and there are many that have literally planned future cities. Dubai, Nazareth, things like that are certainly shining examples for the rest of the world. But unfortunately, the fact of the matter is, the building stock around the world only grows 1 to 1.5% a year. When I look out across your skyline, I see where a great deal of that growth is. But what does that mean? That means that existing building stock, all those buildings that have been built, for the last century, are opportunities to improve its efficiency and sustainability. There are a lot of global best practices, and I actually like the term best practices of the moment, because we know tomorrow, as I speak today, tomorrow, next month, new best practices will be evolving that we can adopt. So I want to just touch a couple. One of the ones is the Green Building Rating Scheme that was actually developed by the U.S. Green Building Council. It's a It's basically a non-government organization, U.S., no affiliation to the American government, that has established some criteria around leadership, energy, and environmental design. And it's fundamentally been adopted and regionalized around the world, including here in Dubai. And it is a way of putting in place some very high standards around sustainability and green buildings. And the green building growth, whatever regional policy or standards are in place, is really taken off. It's so critically important that we make the new building stock as efficient as we can. And just in Leeds alone, there are actually 694 buildings that are registered here in Dubai for those standards. Well done, congratulations, that's terrific.